this tort plane gets sent to
Good
me?
morning. Welcome to the Marion County Board of Commissioners meeting. It is Wednesday, August 1st, 2018. We're in the Senator Hearing Room at Courthouse Square. We will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is public comment, and there is no public comment. So before we do the consent calendar or agenda, we have one item that we need a motion to add to the agenda today.
Madam Chair, I make a motion. We do add an item to a consent calendar. It's about the appointment of a pro tem justice of the Marion County Justice of the Peace District.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to add an item to the consent agenda, and this is appointment of a pro tem justice in the Marion County Justice of the Peace District, and the person that will serve in that role, and has been serving in that role from what I understand, and this is just a renewal, right, is Todd C. McCann, attorney. So, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All right, that is added. So now with that addition, we will move right into our consent agenda.
Okay, Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve our consent agenda this morning, adding the one just approved, the appointment of justice, pro tem justice, Marion County Justice Court. Under Board of Commissioners, approve an order updating policy 101, administrative policies and procedures authorization, business services. Approve Amendment 1, adding $11,480.22 for an online testing module to a contract with governmentjobs.com, DBA NeoGov for online recruitment and testing services for a revised contract value of $108,480.22. Finance, approve an order reappointing Dave Kinney to the Marion County Budget Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2021. Approve a blanket purchase agreement with Professional Credit Service for $185,000 for debt collection services supporting the Marion County Justice Court. Public Works, approve Amendment 1 and 2 to an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Military Department, adding $13,000 for a revised total of incoming funds of $185,718. Received notice of hearings officer's decision approving conditional use case 18009 Marion SSD 5 LLC, clerk's file 5750 on property owned by Artemio and Maria Magana, perhaps.
I'll second the.
I'm not quite done, excuse me. But I'm happy to know you're ready.
We were just talking about procrastination earlier.
Received notice of hearings officer's decision approving conditional use case 18014 Bristol Solar LLC, clerk's file 5751 on property owned by Ivan and Evdokia Barsuf. I'm not doing good today. Barsukov. That sounds good. And finally, approve an order reappointing Marty Hine to the Marion County Parks Commission with a term ending August 31st, 2022.
Now may I second the motion?
You were a little late, but.
You may second the
All right,
motion.
I second the motion.
Yes, Jane.
Did we need to add the justice of the peace? to
He
the
already
consent?
did that at the
Okay.
beginning.
Very
right.
beginning.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the items. Any comments on any items? I just want to comment that I'm pleased that Dave Kinney is willing to serve another term on the Budget Committee. He does
Amazing.
such a great job on
Yeah.
that. So, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 All right, all of those items are approved. Now, we have 4 items under action today. They're all under Public Works, Public
Wow.
Works Day. So the first one is to consider approval of a purchase order to Ennis Flint, Inc. in the amount of $572,000 for the purchase. Are you doing a PowerPoint, Don? No. Then would you sit over there, please? Thank you. For the purchase of a yellow and white paint for striping county roads. And Don Newell is here to tell us about that.
A lot of paint.
Good morning, Commissioners. Don Newell with Public Works. So every year, we buy an order of paint for our striping program. And this number here, the 572, is our white paint and our yellow paint. We also add beads to the paint, which is not part of this purchase here. But the beads are for reflectivity. Marion County, we have 2 trucks and two crews. They stripe white and yellow independently. We find that to be quite efficient and effective with our smaller road widths. And we stripe, besides Marion County, we stripe some 24 cities. About 8 or 16 of those or so are in Marion County. And we also stripe for service Polk County and Tillamook County. This paint is the low organic compounds solvent paint, and we're piggybacking off of Multnomah County's purchase agreement. We've been doing this piggybacking off of their agreement for some 12 or 14 years. Any questions?
Questions?
If I could, like how many gallons? What is it per
Yeah.
gallon? I don't see it here.
I didn't bring that gallon figure with me today. It's, I think we're spending, but I think the gallon rate is between the two of them ranges from 10 to 12 hours a gallon. And so I don't have that gallon figure today.
And it comes in like 50-gallon barrels?
Oh, no, it comes in large totes, and we buy it by the semi-load. So the semi-load, I think, has some 20 totes on it, forklift-type totes, and then the totes slide, the totes are actually slide right onto the paint striper truck themselves. So
is it liquid?
it's liquid, yeah. It's a large forklift-size container, which is called a tote. And the paint is delivered that way from us, and it's manufactured right here in Salem.
Right there on Commercial Street, across from my old office.
This is way off the subject, but I've followed them before, and I wonder, I'm gonna have to ride with them. I wonder how they put the stripe in the middle. I'd be painting lines all over the place. How you get it, how do they do that?
Those operators, it takes them actually about 3 years before they go solo. And there's a lot to that, and we critique each other's counties' road striping as we go down the road, see how others are doing. It is very.
It's an art.
It's very tedious, and you have to be exact. But those guys and gals, and right now we have all guys on as operators. They have that knack, and they get that down. So it's pretty amazing.
He's scheduling a ride-along for me on the.
You're going?
Oh, you kidding?
Yeah, on the paint.
Don't let him
on the
paint anything. I don't
Take your
like
paintball
that
right
stuff.
behind
We're gonna have a section of, Old Mahama Road
Old
that you're
Mahama
gonna see
Road.
where I painted it, because it's gonna go like this, probably, right?
Do you have some practice paint available, something that washes off in the first?
Wait, let's go to Sublimity, right in front of Commissioner's house.
So I've got a technical question on the paint, too.
Yeah.
So what causes it? I was driving over a section of road, might have been in Kaiser the other day, and it had just been freshly striped, but it was smeared, like all the lines were smeared. So does that mean something ran over it before it was dry, or does that mean that the technique was bad, or that the paint was thin, or what could that
So
mean?
they could have so they're pushing it with air, and they could have too much air, and they can have an overspray. I think you might have saw an overspray.
Yeah, just like the whole line, just
Right.
it had like seed
And
type.
that usually happens first thing in the morning as the truck is warming up. I've caught them on that in the past, and anyway, it happens, and then it's there on the road. You can't do anything
And it
about
wears off, and then the next
It
time
just
you
wears
see-
off. The overspray wears off pretty quickly. But
yeah.
yes, it is unsightly to see that.
Yeah, I was just like, whoa, what is this?
Well, I
So
have
see,
a,
now you know something.
no, but if
like
Commissioner's gonna be running
constructive
this
about
button,
Yeah.
can you clean it up? Is there a way to, you gotta just live with it for
We
2
have
years?
cleaned up some
what?
of our messes, yes.
You have?
Yes, yeah.
So there's something that removes it.
There's some hope there.
All right,
The
thank you.
paint,
That's reassuring.
that paint dries pretty fast. I mean,
It
it's
does.
an interesting formula.
And then the trucks are all computerized, so they actually, the skip is done automatic, by a computer on board the truck.
So on a serious note, Don, is there any technology out there now where when you pave a road, you actually put some sensor in the road in the middle where in the future, these things would actually feel those sensors and be straight, so it would take the human air out of it?
That sounds like a little business for you and I to figure out and maybe
All
set
right.
up. Yeah, we can look into that.
When we retire a few years from now,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
So the best ones I've seen along that line, by the way, is Donner Pass, where Caltrans put in sensors in the road, so when
Snow plows.
With the snow plows, and the lead plow then can actually has the sensors, picks up, and all the other plows follow it down the road, but that's what they use. That lead plow also has radar on board because it looks for vehicles that are buried in the snow as it goes too. So,
Wow.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
Is that
fascinating.
what is it? That's on the interstate there down by Tahoe, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that truck. It's been demoed. Pretty amazing.
Well, maybe that would have stopped us from getting stuck on Skyline when I was riding on the snowplow that day.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
how does that work, the work you do for cities and other counties? Do they reimburse you for that, or is there some kind of reciprocal agreement?
So everything is charged in our cost accounting system for the cities. I'm going to come back to the two counties in a second. And so whatever paint that they use, and again, we have the pilot rigs. We have 2 tail trucks that are piloting the truck itself. So all those charges and all the rolling stock pieces are being billed directly to them with our administrative rates on top of that. And so, and they're glad to pay it. And then the 2 counties, Tillamook and Polk, they actually buy their paint and we put their paint down for them. So their paint is not inside this paint number right here, but the cities are in here.
Do they pay for your costs of the equipment and the
Totally,
time?
yeah, totally. They pay for everything. So, and we use that more IGA, which we have out there with it now has some 82 or 84 public agencies on it. So that's the basis of the billing. One little interesting note. So we do some sharing with Salem, and Salem city lines go in and out, and so forth. So we set up with them, we meet with them annually, and we have a striping plan with them, and they stripe portions of our road as we stripe portions of their roads as we make neat lines. So it comes out pretty much zero miles exchange when we're done. And it makes sense where the trucks should go, one truck should go, and where another one should not go. So you'll see us painting a few of the streets in the city limits, but meanwhile, they're painting some of ours.
All right. Ready for a motion, Madam Chair?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'll move that we consider approval of that we approve a purchase order to Enos Flint Incorporated in the amount of $572,000 for the purchase of yellow and white paint for striping county roads and
Second.
others.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve the purchase order. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 That's approved.
Thank you.
All right, Don, you're still on deck for number 2. Consider approval of a purchase order to Pape, is that how you say it, machinery?
I pay? Yes.
In the amount of $167,978.75 for the purchase of a Lee Boy 6150 paver. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've been putting down, for years, we've been putting down our asphalt using a different type of, a slightly smaller machine, what we call a tow-behind paver. Tow-behind means we actually hook it up to the dump truck, and the dump truck actually tows it as it paves. And this is just for our skip patching. This is our skip patching program. We're not going into the paving world. We have our contractors that do all our long line paving, but we do a lot of fixing and smoothing of the roads before we put the chip seals down. And also, and not just smoothing, but we're also fixing some of the distresses that we talked about a couple months ago, the pavement distresses. You guys, would you like to see a picture of this machine?
Sure.
I have it with me.
Thank you. Thank you. Pretty fancy.
So what is different about this paving machine solution than others that you see all out there in the contractor world? You notice that this one is on wheels. Pavers are on tracks, generally, all your paving machines. This one was designed for county roads and for skip patching, so we could move ahead to the next patch quickly instead of crawling to the next patch or picking up the machine and moving it to the next patch and put it back down. So this machine on road speed can travel at like 14, 15 miles an hour, which is substantial for us when we want to move it up to the next patch, and then we stop, and then we begin to pave again. The greatest thing about this solution over our previous one is we're going to be able to deliver a much better viable product on our roads to our customers. And it's got much more greater versatility. Before we had to rely on the skill of the truck driver to actually pull the other machine, but the skill now reverts back to this machine where the trucks come up to it and we hook onto the trucks, and the two work together. Any questions?
So Don, the promotional material says 7.5 miles per hour on travel speed. So you take the governor off to get to 14?
You know, I guess I quoted that wrong. I guess it's, and I didn't even have coffee today, so I'm not sure
right.
why I said that.
And then this is just for information. So, and it says a 7-ton material hopper. So if you're doing patching, would you actually not need a truck to, I mean, you'd load this up with a truck and then he can move without the truck?
Yes,
right?
we can
Yeah.
get into some small, tight areas where we don't need to be tandem with the truck, and so that's one of the beauties of this too. There's some other areas with that other machine that we didn't have that capacity to be able to do that. So we can do some of those small fixes, particularly in some of the urban areas or tight areas, cul-de-sacs and so forth. And I want to underscore that this is about 80 to 90% of the work that this machine will be doing will be prepping for our chip seals, preparing roads for chip seals. Go ahead, Commissioner.
And when would we receive this piece of equipment?
Well, we actually have it because we've been renting it for the last 3 months.
Renting it?
We've been renting it.
Okay, so we're already using it. We're going to buy
We
it.
already proven it, and actually the manufacturer, this is a new technology. We got the first one on the West Coast. They built it to our specs, and we have rented it for the last 3 months, and we think it's fantastic.
Great.
Before I make a motion, you mentioned it was, you were hinting that it was bigger than the current machine or piece of equipment you're using, and then I see widths up to 15 feet, so it does, there's some capacity, speed difference that way, or uniformity of the pavement?
I'm trying to understand.
Is it a bigger machine?
Oh, yeah,
than-
yeah, with much bigger, we can actually bend the patch, what we call, so forth, float the patch, because it has two different arms on each side. But it can do wider and make less seams going down the road too. We can get down to one seam versus three passes. So this is much more efficient. We can actually run a smaller crew now because we have this, and we can get more tonnage. The tonnage rate will probably go up by maybe 4 or 5 fold of what we could do per day versus the other machine.
All right, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we do purchase to approve the purchase order to Pape Machinery in the amount of $167,978.75 for the purchase of a Lee Boy 6150 paver.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That's approved. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Great presentation earlier this week, too, on the history of roads. It was fantastic.
So we have under number 3, consider approval of a resolution initiating amendments to the Marion County Comprehensive Plan. 2, consider concurring in an amendment to the City of Donald urban growth boundary and schedule a public hearing for September 5th, 2018. And that's Brandon Reich. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Brandon Reich, staff representing the Planning Division of Public Works. On June 12th this year, the City of Donald approved an ordinance amending the city's urban growth boundary to add 77 acres for residential land and 11 acres for public land needs. The city's population is forecasted to grow to over 2,000 persons by the year 2034, approximately doubling the size of the existing city's population. The city identified a need for additional single-family dwelling and multifamily dwelling units by 2034, in excess of the existing dwelling units that are already in the city. The city considered how much residential land could be accommodated on existing vacant and redevelopable land within the UGB, as well as the likely future density of residential units. The city determined that the boundary would have to be expanded by 77 acres to meet that future land need. And that 77 acres includes the land that's needed for future rights-of-way, public facilities, parks, things like that. The city has identified an expansion area toward the southeast of the existing city urban growth boundary and city limits, and is asking the county to concur in the urban growth boundary expansion. The city is also proposing to bring in about 11 acres of land into the UGB that contains an existing city stormwater detention area. After the properties have been included in the urban growth boundary and given designations in the Donald Comprehensive Plan, but until the properties are annexed, the county would have to apply an urban zone consistent with the city plan designation. Before you today is a resolution to initiate the county process and set the hearing date for Wednesday, September 5th, 2018. Staff recommends the resolution be approved as provided. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
And Brandon, I think we gave Donald a community grant to help them with some of this process, right? That
They did. They got a community grant. I don't know all the details, but it's for some of the planning review they had to go through to make this determination.
Okay, and then can you just explain maybe the process? We have a public hearing on September 5th, and then what happens after that public hearing?
The public hearing, the board could consider an ordinance approving or concurring in the amendments to the city of Donald, and then I'd return with an ordinance for the county to adopt. Then the city would hold the city would submit to DLCD a package with their ordinance and our ordinance and whatever else the Department of Land Conservation Development wants from the process. And that would, if there are no appeals, that would be the end. The city would have an expansion.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for motion?
Just a comment, I saw yesterday a letter from Donald asking us to do this. So
Right.
Right.
Everybody seems to be in favor.
Right.
And this is a legislative process, right?
This
That
is,
we're
it's an
going
amendment to the county's comprehensive plan.
Right. Okay, great.
So
I
ma-
wasn't quite sure what to do with the letter, but then I realized it was a legislative process, that was okay.
Yes, and we had worked, I've been working with the city for years on the expansion, and we talked about, the letter is kind of the trigger for the county to be able to consider concurring. So
Okay,
it's
very
when
good.
the city is finally at the point where they're ready for the county to become that official part of the process.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, this is really important for that particular area. Madam Chair, I'll move that we approve a resolution initiating amendments to the Marion County Comprehensive Plan to consider concurring in an amendment to the City of Donald Urban Growth Boundary and schedule a public hearing for September 5th, 2018.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution that initiates amendments to the comprehensive plan and schedules a public hearing. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, that's approved.
Thank you.
Last item on our agenda, and Brandon is also in deck for this one. Consider approval of a resolution, initiating amendments to the Marion County Urban and Rural Zone Codes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, for the record, Brandon Reich, staff representing the Planning Division of Public Works. So Marion County has generally kept its county zone code up to date with state law changes. And there have been changes made by the legislature in 2017 and 2018 in statute that should be incorporated into the county code to keep it up to date. In addition, staff has reviewed the code and is proposing some clarifying amendments and correcting some Scrivener's errors that are in code. During the process, in the past, always the public and neighborhood associations and interested persons are all invited to provide ideas for amendments to the urban and rural zone codes. And these ideas would be considered during the process and incorporated into the recommendation from the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission holds the first hearing. If the board agrees to initiate the amendments, staff would like to take the updates to the Planning Commission first for discussion and for a hearing, and work with them to develop a recommended code language for the board to consider at its hearing. Before the board today is a resolution that initiates the process for the board to consider amendments to the Marion County Rural and Urban Zone Codes and directs the Planning Commission to hold a hearing on the matter. Staff recommends the resolution be approved as provided. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
So could you give us an example
Sure.
of one of the rural or urban zone code amendments that you'd be looking at?
Sure. Sometimes they come out of the state statute and they're not that big of a change. They made some changes to the way biosolids can be considered to be applied on farmland. And there's a new requirement that a cider business processing, I believe apples, probably apples and pears, cider products, would be able to perform in rural areas, farm zones, similar to how wineries operate now. So we don't have fruit wine, but you'd have wineries from grapes, and you'd have cider products. There are some things we've done. There's a requirement that a jurisdiction permit accessory dwelling units if the jurisdiction's a certain size, and I think it's forget the sizes of the city. Marion County already permits accessory dwelling units in our urban areas. This really applies to the urban areas. Those are the major changes that came out of the statute. The staff has recommended some changes already at this point. In Lyons, there are residences on commercially zoned property who have difficulty refinancing and selling their home and such because of this kind of unique situation in Lyons where there's a combination of residential and commercial all in the same area. So staff's proposed we think will resolve that and allow people to move forward on refinancing or selling or building on their property. There's different references and codes and setback clarifications and things like that we bring in before the board.
So if we decide that we're going to do something about the solar arrays, would that go in this too, or would that go in a different code amendment process?
That would be a separate process.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Okay, then if I could, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion we approve the resolution that initiates amendments to Marion County Urban and Rural Zone Codes.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 That's approved.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. That concludes our business for this morning. I'll read the Wednesday to Wednesday calendar. These are meetings where three commissioners will be present between August the 1st and August 8th, 2018. We're just concluding our board session here at the Senator Hearing Room at Courthouse Square. At noon today is a Woodburn-Marion County meeting at Luis's Taqueria, 523 Front Street in Woodburn. Tomorrow, Thursday, August 2nd, at 7 in the morning is the Salem Chamber Public Policy Meeting. I believe that's on the water crisis, is that right?
Yes.
At the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce, 1110 Commercial Street, Northeast in Salem. Also at 9:30 is a department head elected officials meeting at the Silverton Conference Room here at Courthouse Square on the 5th floor. Then on Monday, August 6th, at 8:30 is a calendar review, also in the Silverton Conference Room, 5th floor at Courthouse Square, followed by management update at 9 a.m. And then on Wednesday, August 8th at 9 is our regular Wednesday board session back here in the Senator Hearing Room at Courthouse Square.
Isn't department heads usually in the commissioner's ballroom?
You're right, Department Head Elected Officials meeting.
Yes, I'm glad the
Should be in the
commissioners.
Commissioner's boardroom, thank you.
Ballroom.
But if someone comes to the Silverton Conference Room, they will be directed appropriately. All right. What's new? Anything? So now that I'm living in Kaiser, when we drive to the freeway, most of the time we take Perkins Road and we circle around, can't remember the name of the road, but then it comes in front of the Volcanoes Stadium, in between that and the freeway, cuts through the Kaiser Station, and then you go to the freeway. So we're passing a large solar farm
Oh,
that's being put in there. It's very interesting.
Where did you see it? What streets? This is
Well,
on
if you-
River Road?
If you go by the Volcano Stadium, so you're paralleling the freeway. The freeway's right there, and you're in between the freeway and the stadium, and you get on the road that is perpendicular to Perkins Road. It's just right in an area right there.
But that's dry, if I remember right, that's non-irrigated area. It's pretty dry in there.
Yep.
It's close in,
Yep,
because they got a substation right there.
right. It's probably
So
the perfect
those-
place
those
for them.
Probably the types of places they need to put this stuff, right?
Yep.
Right.
Just gonna say, there's one that I have seen very frequently going up. A lot of solar panels on that thing. And we had a couple today, it looks like on our consent agenda, that went through the process.
Yeah,
A couple, both of them, I think, were in the Woodburn area. So we may hear about those today.
Under the old rules that we talked
Yep.
about yesterday.
yeah.
Yep. Anything else interesting? You ready to adjourn?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think,
Might mention we got the Sedcor Partner Award. I saw that when I was going through
oh,
my
that's good
email.
news, yeah.
Yeah,
Chad Freeman brought that letter, so hopefully we'll have that on, I think it's a lunch that we've got.
yeah, it is
that
in
we get that
September.
award, so, and that goes back to our staff doing really great things. And I realized, I thought Sarah's last day was the 31st, and her last day was last Friday, and I missed saying goodbye to her, but
Ah.
she was a big part of that. Danielle
Yeah.
and Tom and Tamara's team up there have done a great job working. And Regional Solutions, it's been a really good, a good partnership, good teamwork. And in fact, we had a presentation, Chad Freeman and Tom and I and Barb and Danielle met this week on some, we're gonna run out of places to put industrial in the future. And we know how long that takes. Just look at Woodburn, right? What are we gonna do next? So getting some things started long-term, and that's part of what we can do. So that's not anything really fun, but we need to move forward. So I think we'll have a management update and then a work session talking about that soon, where we're gonna go.
So speaking of retirement, Sheila Lawrence's party was last night, and I ended up having to take my car into the shop, so I missed it. Did anyone go?
Sam?
I
You went?
did, and John did too.
Oh, good.
It was a nice event. I got there pretty early, but it was gonna go on a long time. She seemed really happy. I said, you look like you're already gone and you're just happy about it? Yeah. But then one of the deputies, after I walked by, he said she was crying yesterday.
Oh.
So
She's starting to miss it, yeah.
she did yesterday, but today she's okay, and so she seemed real happy. Yeah.
She's been a great servant for a long
Yeah.
time.
They made a present for, I don't know what you call it, a print, I guess, with a bunch of characters from the sheriff's office in it, and it was pretty amazing. In fact, just know that Troy Clausen is in the clouds as Mars, the god of war. You just tell them, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I do some real interpretation to come up with that, but it was a fun-looking, object.
Very good.
Now, just because I'm thinking about it, I got back last week from Grants Pass. I know you have a connection. You grew up there, lived there?
I was born there.
Born there. But, and I know we had our fire issues that year, but it was just really amazing. We had a timber meeting, had a dinner cruise on the jet boats, and then up to a lodge. I've been trying to, the fire was just over the second hill from it, but you could see lines coming down. And I read bits and pieces. It said somewhere it's gone to the river. I hope it didn't get there. It was a Hellgate Lodge, I think it was. That was $2 million economic development.
Wow.
You know it matters. They told me that they had 70,000 people go on those jet boat rides, and
Wow.
Yeah, I've been on a
and they're
lot.
being impacted, so
Right.
that hurts.
Yeah.
But I just thought of they fed like 300 or 400 people there. Well, they were a nice dinner, but there was probably 20 plus like high school age kids, so that matters. So I hope it's all fine. I've been
Yeah.
trying to follow and see if I could.
Well, I read too that some of the smoke that we're smelling here is
From
drifting
down-
up from Northern California and
Yeah.
Southern Oregon fires.
We are so far out of the woods.
Not necessarily.
Well, out of the fire. I think Grady said, well, last week, was it last week they were here? Forest Service? Would they have 30 some odd fires? They got them all under control.
Yeah.
So that's good news.
There was one other thing that was something I hadn't heard before that was kind of a new theory, that, so there's a big fire in the mountain and or lightning strikes. I guess it all starts with lightning strikes. When there were people logging in the woods, those logging crews would,
Put 'em
couple of
out.
things. Well, they put them out for one thing, but they also had roads, they had equipment and ready to go. And now when they're not in the woods, you can
Oh,
only
we're
find
down.
out when it's up and going hard, and now you gotta find out how to get people there or even get there. And they said that's a change that they're starting to note. That-
Well, my dad, when we lived in Grants Pass, he was there because he was the dispatcher at the state forestry, and he would go
Oh,
out
you
and
would
fight
be
fires.
involved.
Yeah, for days at a time, and come home with smoke all over his clothes and stuff, but, they've had a whole process where they managed the forests and had crew boys and things that went out there to fight those fires, and now it's just totally
And now
different.
this could be a political statement, but I don't think it is. I read stuff hired and paid for by the environmentalists that the general conclusion was that logging produces more greenhouse emissions than harvesting timber. That you'd be better off to let it burn than to harvest it.
Right.
Because it's just steam you're seeing.
Right,
Oh, come on. So it's like
It's natural, it cleanses the forest, yeah.
like you ever get a appraisal on a home, there's two prices. One if you're selling, one if you're buying. And I guess if whoever you hire.
So you're not buying it, then, is what you're saying?
I am not buying it. Are you kidding me? No, they put out whatever and make it look like it's science to back their statements. That kills me. That's all.
All right.
But we don't want to talk about bikes and State Street and.
Well, I was
all
gonna
that.
ask Dawn to tell Salem we will not stripe a dieted State Street. Would that be fair?
No
Can
diets.
we make that a position? Jane, this is new motion.
We just did a graphic that says diet, and it's got that red circle around it with a line through the.
Yeah,
Fine.
all right. Well, we're going to go to Woodburn and have some good conversation with the leaders up there today. Have my favorite place to go to lunch of all the things, all the places we get to go to
It
eat.
got a decent restaurant score, very good restaurant score. It was in there.
From the health department?
Yeah.
Oh, it was 100%, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Um,
I only care about the lime drinks. I don't even know what you call
Some
them.
of the other ones we've been to before didn't fare quite so well,
Yeah.
so I
Well,
I keep my eye on that.
Sassy Onion we go to, they got 100%, I
Good
saw
for
that,
you.
so.
Oh, great.
I guess I love the breakfast there, but going to the Luis's Taqueria is like, what are you gonna have, Sam?
Well, I always look and then get the same thing, the special.
Oh, you get enchiladas and tacos, or?
Yeah. You gotta have chips.
I always get the same thing.
I get the ceviche tostada a lot.
See, if I can't say it, I don't have it.
Ceviche,
Yeah.
it's fish,
Oh,
shrimp, crab,
wouldn't that be nice?
yeah.
I
Lots
get
of lime juice.
carnitas, that's my favorite thing.
Right,
See, I messed up the names today.
ceviche, all right.
All right.
Okay,
Well, if there is nothing else, we will adjourn.
say goodbye.